dramatically increase your productivity, and make more money for you. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Stumpf.
Good. All right. Morning. Would you put your hands together like this? Come on, everybody, get your hands together like this. And would you just nudge the person next to you very gently and say, lighten up a little bit? There you go. So, good morning. Okay, are you excited to be here? It is an honor and a privilege to be with you, and I am so grateful that you are here. And I want to make this next 75 minutes the most valuable 75 minutes of your life. And the way that I can do that is give you the language in the next 75 minutes that will help you get more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. All in favor of doing that, say aye. Okay, motion carried. Now, what is a referral? How many of you like referrals? How many of you like to be referred? What's important about a referral to you? Why don't you turn the person next to you real quickly and just tell them what's the difference between somebody who is referred to you versus somebody that comes to you through marketing and advertising and promotion? What's the distinction between those two clients? Real quick. What would be the difference? Trust. Good. Okay. All right, come on back. So the definition of a referral today, so this is where we're going to operate from, because my job in the next 75 minutes is to make sure that you get enough language that you can generate more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. Now, that's a big job. And the way that I approach this today with you is that I'll be beheaded if you do not get enough language in the next 75 minutes so you can get more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. Now, what is a referral? A referral is when someone sends somebody they love to you because they respect you. So when I send my daughter to you to buy a house because I respect you, that's what a referral is. When I send my next door neighbor to you because I really care about their well-being and I really respect and honor you, that's a referral. And I want you to get more of that business in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. All in favor of doing that? Yeah. Now, in a market like yours, the most important thing is that you work with the best clients. That's the most important thing, because the one thing you can't replace is your time. We know there's going to be business, but how much quality is your life going to have depends on the quality of the client that you're working with. So when I talk about a referral, I talk about a 5-star prospect. And that's a person who, number one, who is open to have a conversation with you. They're friendly. They know what they want. They want to work with you, not with every realtor. They want to work with you, and they know when they want to do that. So when I talk about a referral today, I'm not talking about a person who comes to you and says, hey, a friend of mine bought a house from you. What's your commission? That's not a referral. That's a lead. You could generate that from an ad call. I'm talking about specifically a person calling you up saying, hey, a very good friend of mine who really cares deeply about my well-being said that I can pick from any real estate agent in the Toronto area to buy a home, but they respect you so much, I want to work with you. That's what a referral is. And I know specifically and exactly how you can get more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months if you have the right language. It's all language. And so that's what we're going to work on for the next 70 minutes is languaging skills. How many of you believe what you say makes a difference? Yeah. Let me see a show of hands. How many of you believe what? Now, I know this is true, and there's some context behind that. So I'm going to give you a little bit of context, and then I'm going to give you lots of language, lots of words. I'm going to show you how to easily take phrases and little chunks of words and then insert them into your dialogues that will help people respond in a very positive way. And I believe that what most agents do that are not producing at the level that they're capable of is because they're winging it. They're not really going out thoroughly prepared to create the outcome that they want. And the outcome that you want is more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. All in favor of doing that? Okay, good. So, first of all, what's the number one reason somebody refers someone to you? Now, a referral is sending someone you really love and really care about to someone you respect. What's the number one reason people do that? Now, think in your own experience. Well, think in your own experience when you go to a movie and you really love the movie. I just saw Sherlock. What a great movie. Smart, brilliant, fast, great movie. Love the movie. Now, I'm endorsing that movie. I'm referring that movie to you right now. If you go to a great restaurant and you really enjoy the meal and you go home and you tell your friends or your family members about it, there's a reason you're doing that. You're referring that to them. When you read a book and you go, wow, what a great book. I just read a great book called Crush It. What a great book. There's a great book called Drive. Fabulous book. I would refer both of those to you. Now, there's a reason I'm doing that. What's behind my motivation to introduce or refer someone or something, a product or a service to you? Now, look in your own experience. What's the last thing you referred to somebody that you cared about? Think about a chiropractor, a dentist, a pediatrician. Think about any experience that you had that you endorsed to someone else. What was the reason you did that? Real quick, turn to the person next to you and just tell them, real quick. The person with the shortest hair goes first. Tell them why you did that. What happened? Now, if you look inside your experience real closely and ask yourself, is the number one reason that you referred someone to someone else is because it made you feel good? Made you feel good. When I go to a restaurant and I really enjoy the meal, and then I tell a friend about it, and my friend calls me up and says, that was a good meal, it makes me feel good. I like the feeling I get when I endorse something that I like to another person. So the reason people refer is it makes them feel good. So how many of you have a fear of asking for a referral? How many of you have ever had that fear? Come on, raise your hands, one of you. There you go. So when you're experiencing the fear of asking for a referral, what you're actually doing is denying a person the experience of feeling good. How dare you do that? How dare you deny another person the privilege of feeling good by endorsing you? You let your petty fear get in the way of someone else feeling good. Now here's the facts, and my company, By Referral Only, we've been studying the whole referral process for 23 years. What I know as a fact is this: 15% of the population anywhere in North America does not refer no matter what. They don't want to feel good. It's not in their nature. They just don't do it. They're so anonymous and so introverted that to go out and to endorse somebody is just not part of their nature. How many of you have a few of those clients right now? Yeah. Now there's 15% of the population that it doesn't matter what you do, that's all they do is endorse and advocate. They're raving fans, they're mavens. Everyone they see, they go, oh, you gotta use him to buy your house. Oh, you gotta read this book, you gotta go to this movie. Everything they see and everyone they talk to, they're endorsing somebody. How many of you know people like this? Yeah, so that's 15 and 15, it's 30% of the population, which leaves 70% of the population want to feel good. They want to recommend and endorse you, but for the most part, they don't even know that you need it or want it. For the most part, we do it as an afterthought. You put on your business card, I heart referrals, which is all about you, not about them. It's not about them feeling good, it's about what makes you feel good. And so what I'm going to help you do today is shift and find the referrals in the next 30 days in that 70% of the people who want to endorse and recommend you to the people that they love and care about, because you're going to ask them in an intelligent, articulate way that gives you a feeling, a sense of purpose that they are going to feel great when they endorse you. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just let go of all of your notions up to this point, what you think you know about referrals. Just let it all go. And just completely open your mind to a possibility there's something that you don't even know that you don't even know. All in favor of doing that? Yeah. So turn to the person next to you and say, I'm going to open myself up right now to something I didn't know that I didn't know. Real quick. Just turn to the person next to you. There you go. Okay, so here it is. It's a critical insight, and I would encourage you to write this down, make a note of this. The insight is real simple. Your business has 3 units. Let me have the Elmo here. 3 units. You have a before unit, a during unit, and an after unit in your business. The before unit in your business is everything that you do for advertising, marketing, and promotion to generate leads. Every time you do anything, you do a mailing, you do an ad bench, you do a promotional campaign, you're in the before unit of your business. The moment a person comes in for an initial consultation until the time the transaction closes, that's called the during unit. The before unit is marketing and advertising. The during unit is problem solving. Now you have to really get in there and do what you said you were going to do in your marketing. And then the after unit is everything that happens after the transaction is closed. That's staying in touch with your past clients, adding value to them when you're not being paid. So you could look at your business and say, I have 3 units, the before unit, the during unit, and the after unit. One unit is marketing, one is problem solving, and the other is relationship building. Now, the question I ask you is, which area are you strongest in? Are you a real strong marketer? Are you a strong problem solver? Or are you a strong relationship builder? If you had to pick one that was your greatest strength, which one would you say it is? And notice what we have a tendency to do is wherever we're strong is where we put all of our time. And then we compensate for the areas that we're weak by working 70 hours a week. And so what I'm going to suggest is that you look at each one of the units of your business as an independent part of your business, and you build a system and a structure to support the goals in each one of your business. And so the time that we have today, and I only got a short period of time to help you get in the next 30 days, get more referrals than you did in the last 12 months. The area that I would point to as your biggest opportunity is the during unit of your business. The client that you're working with right now is the person most likely to introduce you to your next client for 3 reasons. Number 1, you're talking to them more frequently than ever anyone else. The current client that you're working with right now, as far as they're concerned, you have no other clients. You're it. And God won't give you any more unless you take care of what you already got. And so you have this client who's buying or selling a house from you right now, and they're noticing other people who are buying and selling homes because that's what people do. When they are buying or selling a home, they notice other people buying or selling a home. Right now, how many of you are working with a current client right now? How many of you have a buyer or seller that you're working with right now? Raise your hands real high. Wave to me. Okay, good. Think of the name of one person right now that you would like to have them introduce you to someone that they really care about, and that person will buy or sell a home in the next 30 to 60 to 90 days. Think of one person, because I'm going to give you some exact language to call that person up that will result in a person introducing someone to you. But think of that one person you're currently working with right now. Now that person, whoever you're working with right now, is noticing for sale signs in the neighborhood like they've never noticed before. Why? It's important to them right now. Soon as they buy a house or sell a house, they stop to notice the signs. They become the landscape of the community. It's just what it is. If somebody is selling their home, all of a sudden they start to see everyone else who's selling their home. And they want to know what every home is selling for right now because they're selling their home. As soon as they're done selling their home, they hardly even notice the other people selling their home. Right now, your client could be at work. Hopefully, they're at work. And they're sitting there in their office right now, and somebody walks in and says, hey, I'm thinking about buying a home. And your client right now is saying, oh, so am I. We're buying a home right now. And they hear that because that's what they're doing right now. What we want to have happen is that that client of yours says, you're buying a home? The person goes, yes. They go, hang on a minute. And they get up and they close the door. Then they move to their phone. They call up you and they go, got one. That's what you want to have happen. All in favor of doing that, say aye. Yeah. And that's possible if you understand that your biggest opportunity for people to introduce you to their friend, family member, or neighbor, the biggest opportunity is with the people that you're currently working with right now. That's your biggest opportunity. Now, what I find is most people don't even talk about referrals until the very end of the transaction. And it's more of an afterthought. Oh, by the way, if you happen to know of anybody who would like to enjoy the level of service that I provide, would you refer them to me? But the fact is, the opportunity was throughout the entire transaction, because that's when you're talking to the most, and it's also when they like you the most, because they know you the least. They'll get to know you over time. But when you're solving someone's problem, that's when they like you most. And there's these moments of truth during the transaction that are the optimum time to ask people to refer and introduce you to the people that they love and care about. And I'm going to show you how to do that today, specifically, exact language, so you can get more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. So all in favor of doing that, say aye. Okay, good. Now, the next piece of context is 3 things have to happen in order for someone to introduce you. 3 things. You might make a note of this. Number 1 is they have to notice other people. They have to notice that. If they're in a conversation and they're playing bridge and somebody says, yeah, I'm thinking about buying a house, they have to notice that. They have to hear that. They can't say, oh, that's cool, pass me the ketchup, as if they didn't even hear that. So it's your responsibility to let your current clients know that they're going to start to notice people who are buying and selling, and to be aware of this. You have to help them notice. Number 2, they have to think of you when they notice. See, they'll notice people, but they have to think of you. And number 3 is they have to introduce you. Introduce you. So those 3 things have to happen. So it's your responsibility from the moment you meet a client at the initial consultation to communicate to them in an intelligent, articulate way that they're going to start noticing other people are buying, selling, and borrowing, because they're buying, selling, and borrowing. And when they do, to think of you and do what's necessary in order to introduce the 2 of you. And you want to have language that's saying that the entire time, and the likelihood of people introducing you soars when you start at the very beginning of the relationship, not an afterthought when it's all over. So take those 3 things. Number 1, people want to introduce you because it makes them feel what? Everybody makes them feel what? Makes them feel good. Number 2, the likelihood of someone referring someone to you is an all-time high during the transaction. And number 3, they have to notice you, think of you, and introduce you. Now take those 3 things, and now I'll show you how to apply that to all of your language skills. And you'll see how that's the backdrop for all of this. So write this down. I'm going to give you some neurolinguistics. I have a master's practitioner in NLP, and NLP is neurolinguistic programming. It's the effects that words have on the nervous system. You could say specific words to a person, and they will respond in a specific way. And I'll give you an example. I helped one gentleman who was completely broke, and I gave him 5 words. And in 5 words, he went from complete poverty to having more money than he had ever had. Well, more money than he had had in the last year in about 5 to 10 minutes with 5 new words. Would you like to know what those 5 words were? Okay, well, first of all, here's what happened. I was down in Florida, and I was with a group of real estate agents, and we were walking into a public supermarket. It's a chain of supermarkets. And there was a fella standing out in front, and he was holding this sign, and the sign said, I'm hungry. How many of you have ever seen somebody go, I'm hungry? Now, tell me what happens to your nervous system when you read those words. What happens? Turn to the person next to you and tell them the truth. What really happens? I'm hungry. You say to yourself what? Get a job. Very little compassion on the side of the room over here. Yeah. So here's what happened. I walked up to him because his bowl was empty, and I said to him, hey, how is that working for you? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, how are those 2 words? You picked these 2 words, I'm hungry. Out of all the words in the English language, you picked I'm hungry. Is it working? And he looks at his bowl and it's empty. He goes, what do you mean? You can't see? It's not working? I said, are you open for some coaching? And he was a little irritated with me. What do you mean, coach? I said, never mind. And so I went inside and I got the manager to give me one of those big Sharpie markers. And I came outside and I said, let me take your sign. I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to write 5 words on the back of your card. And I'll be back here in 15 minutes to see what results those 5 words produced. So you want to know what those 5 words are? Here they are. Now, watch what happens to your nervous system when you read these words. What happens? You have to go inside. It's not about him, it's about who. And how many of you have this feeling? It goes, And the only way to get rid of the feeling is what? To get rid of the feeling, you have to give. So I walk out 15 minutes later, and there's a bunch of people putting money in his hand. He's like, and he goes, yeah. So if real estate doesn't work out for you, you have your first technique. But the magic of words, and that's why I like to refer to it as magic words. They're words you already know. They're words that you use every single day. And what I'm going to show you how to do is put them in the right combination. And when you put them in the right combination, they open up the safe. They open up the riches into your life, the right words at the right time. How many of you have ever sat across from a client and you were just going, I wish I had the right words? How many of you got the right words after you left the situation? You go, God, I could have said this, I could have said this, I could have said this, I could have said this. Yeah. So what I want to help you do is find words that will produce more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. So let me start with 3 simple concepts. Number 1 is this. Get rid of the word referral from your vocabulary. Just dump that word for good and replace it with the word introduce. Introduce. There's no picture for the word referral. So now, when I say referral, the mind cannot create an image of a referral. But when I say introduce, there is an image for introduce. So when you say to a person, would you feel comfortable introducing me to a friend or a family member, it's very different than saying, would you feel comfortable referring a friend or a family member to me? The word refer refers that they're responsible for something. I'm just going to connect the two of you. So from this moment forward, we're going to dump the word referral and we're going to replace it with what? Introduce. Everyone say introduce. Okay, say it 3 times. Okay, now remember, the mind, when it hears something for the very first time, it thinks it's accidental. Second time, it's coincidental. Third time, a pattern starts to appear. And the mind starts to go, oh, that makes sense. I like that. Introduce, introduce, introduce. How many of you like that thought? Introduce. Yeah, so when you're with somebody, you go, hey, do you have any friends or family members who you'd like to introduce to me that may need my help? And that's the second word. Get rid of the word service completely. It's a benign word. It's a monastic word. Actually, the origin of the word service is it's a devotion to God. It's a huge commitment to God. That's what service, that's the root of that word. So I'm going to say put that on the side right now and use the word help. Help has an enormous amount of emotion, and it assigns a person a responsibility. So when you say, if you have a friend, a family member, or a neighbor who needs help selling their home, would you introduce them to me? Which is very different than, if you know anyone who wants to sell their home, would you refer them to me? Can you all hear the distinction? And it's landing in your nervous system differently. And it gives you more confidence when you ask in a way that a person can receive it in a way that they go, oh yeah, I would love to introduce people to you, because in their heart it makes them feel good. Refer, there's a stretch to that. There's a stretch, but introduce, I can do that. The third concept is real simple. Get rid of the word people. When you say, hey, do you know anyone, or do you know any people that want to sell their home, or do you know anyone that wants to buy a house? The word anyone or people, that's too large of an audience to look at. I'm going to ask you to put it into 3 groups, because this is 90% of all the people who will ever be referred to you. Their friends, their family, and their neighbors. So when you say those 3 words, it creates a cultural code called trust. There's some great research that's been done, just even Allstate, you're in good what? Yeah, I mean, they know, like a good neighbor, they know that those words are next to magical. So when you say to a person, if you have a friend, as soon as I say the word friend, all of a sudden images pop up, a family member or a neighbor who needs help selling their home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? It's a very powerful statement, and there's a lot of embedded commands, and there's a lot of language ambiguity in that, and I'll show that to you in a minute. But I want you just to see how I've woven in 3 concepts. Introduce, help, friends, family members, neighbors. Right? So real quick, turn to the person next to you and just tell them, what did you just learn? What are the 3 words? Real quick, quick. Person with the longest hair goes first. What'd you learn? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, how many of you have picked up an idea already that you're going to be able to use as soon as you make your next phone call? All right, good. Now, next concept, an important one. The most valuable real estate when it comes to building a referral-based business is your telephone number and their cell phone directory. That's the most valuable real estate there is. If your number is not in their cell phone directory, the number of times you will be introduced diminishes significantly. As soon as your number gets into their cell phone directory, the number of times you will be introduced using the techniques I'm going to share with you today will start to soar. Because when it's time to ask a person to introduce people to you, you must give them specific instructions. And the instructions are, take out your cell phone, look up my number, and call me immediately. Now, that means your number has to be inside their directory. My friend Terry Moyler, when she sits across from a client, the first thing she says to him is, now we're going to be in communication on a regular basis. I'm going to take my cell phone out right now, and I'm going to put your name and number into my cell phone directory, and she'll get it right in there, and then she'll call them. She says, oh, that's me calling. Now save me. You got me saved there? Good. Now, so the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention they need some help buying or selling a home, please feel comfortable introducing them to me, okay? All you need to do is take out your cell phone, look at my number, call me immediately. And she's embedded that code, that language, right at the very beginning. And I've watched her build a business over the last 15 years that she does 100, 150 transactions every year. 91% of her business is referral. And spends very little time marketing and advertising. High quality client. And the great thing about a referred client is if they call up and they say, hey, a friend of mine suggested I give you a call that I shouldn't talk to any other real estate agent. Could we get together? You can say to that client, listen, I'm going to be out of town for a couple weeks. Could we get together? Because I promised my family we're going to run down to Florida for a little while. Would you wait for me? And the referred client waits. Are you following me on this? The unreferred client, the one that comes from an ad, try that with an ad call. Hi, saw your sign. Well, listen, I'm going to go on vacation for a couple days. The quality of the client is the quality of the life. And the opportunity to generate referrals is an all-time high with the current client that you're working with right now. I'll give you a metaphor to remember this by. If you wanted to catch a bird, if you thought, boy, I'd like to catch a bird, what would you do to catch a bird? Would you turn to the person next to you and just tell them, what would you do to catch a bird? If you had to catch a bird, you'd do what? Okay, come on back. Good. So some of you said, get a gun. Okay, that's like a website. Some of you said, get a net. That's an open house. Some of you said, run an ad. That's bird seed. Come in, they eat it, and then they take off. Try this on. If you want to catch a bird, build an extraordinary birdhouse. So when you do get a bird, imagine this is a bird flying by, and they see the birdhouse, they go, oh, yeah, tweet, 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 tweet. Nice birdhouse, I'm staying here. And then as another bird flies by, this one's going, over here, tweet, 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 tweet. And then the birds you got are getting you the birds that you don't got. The clients you have are attracting you the clients you don't have while they're in the birdhouse, enjoying the experience of being a bird. And I'm going to suggest that many of you are looking for people who don't know you, don't like you, don't trust you, when the person who's working with you right now would love to introduce you to your next client if you only would, in an intelligent, articulate way, create your business with that intention. So I'm going to give you a dialogue, a very specific dialogue. I'm going to show you how to memorize it and get it into long-term memory. So please take some notes on this. This has taken me 23 years to figure out. And it's often said, I've said this often, so if you've heard it before, imagine how many times I've heard it. If I'm going to prepare for a 3-day training, I do a 3-day training called the main event. And if I'm preparing for that, it takes about a month to get all ready for that. If I'm preparing for a 1-day training, it takes me probably about a week to prepare. If I'm preparing for 75 minutes, it takes a lifetime to prepare. So when I was invited to be with you today, they said, okay, you got 75 minutes. What would I talk about? I can talk for days and days about building a successful business because I not only have done it, I've helped thousands of agents do that. What could I do that would actually make a difference on your next phone call? What would produce an outcome that you'd go, oh, that's a shift? So from all the language that I have, I picked this one dialogue, and I want to get it installed. I want to get it installed into long-term memory. And I know how to do that. I know how to take it and install it in your brain so it comes out automatically. But you have to be open to receive it. So are you open for that? Okay, so here's the dialogue. The dialogue is going to be aimed at a very specific person. So you've got to tell me who we're going to use this dialogue with. So the thing is, you have a client in your current process, in your during unit right now, that you're working with right now. So think of the name of that client that we're going to use this dialogue with. See, it's called situational learning. We'll only learn something that is really relevant that we're going to use immediately. And so we'll learn it. If the phone call has to be made in 15 minutes, I'll figure out what I have to say. But I don't learn something if I'm not going to apply it. If you're going to go into a street fight right now, you say, hey, Joe, show me some Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I need it right now, because I'm about to walk out the door. I'm going to get into a street fight. Now, if you're not going to get into a street fight and say, hey, I'd like to teach you a little Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you say, I'm not really interested, because situationally I don't need it. Say yes? Okay, so right now, I want you to think of a client that you would be willing to call within the next 24 hours and use this dialogue with. Somebody that you would like to deepen a relationship with. Because as soon as somebody introduces you to a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, you have a deeper relationship with them. So think of that one person and write that person's name down, just their first name, and we're going to aim everything at that situation. And watch what happens. It's next to magical when you get that type of clarity. So turn to a person you have not yet met and just tell them the name of the person you're thinking of. Find someone you have not met and just turn around and say, their name is, whatever. Just get it off your lips real quick. Okay. Okay, here we go. Now, first time you hear something, it's accidental. Second time you hear something, it's coincidental. Third time you hear something, it becomes a pattern. So how many times have you heard that? Yeah, that was coincidental. So what I've learned as a trainer, it's better to take really good, solid, practical, result-driven information and drive it real deep so it produces a result, as opposed to stay on the surface and give a lot of fluff. And so what I'm going to give you right now is something that's taken me a long time to figure out, these magic words. So I want you to think of the person you're going to call, and these are the words you're going to use. And I'm going to ask you right now to suspend any judgment. If any judgment you have right now, just put it on the side right now. Just suspend it for a minute. So you can always judge this later, but for right now, just be open. And the words would sound like this. And I wrote this out earlier this morning. Go like this. I'm curious. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention they may need help, and then you put specifically what they would need help on, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Now, please write that down, because that's going to be the easiest phone call you're ever going to make. Hey, Bob, it's Joe. What's up, Joe? You know, I'm curious. I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Would y'all say that? Say, I'm curious. Again? Now say it like you're really curious. You know, I'm curious. Are you not curious? Yeah, think of that person. You're like, I'm just really curious right now. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend or a family member or a neighbor, and they mention that they want to buy a larger, more spacious home. They mention that they're going to be buying their first home, or they mention they're going to be moving out of the area, whatever you want to have referred to you specifically. Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Now, I want you to notice I am not asking for a referral. What am I asking for? Here's the question. I'm asking them what? Would you feel comfortable? Would you all say that? See, the most important thing is right now we need to find out if the person that you're working with right now is even comfortable introducing you. Because if they're not comfortable, they're not introducing you. And right now, you may be working with someone that might say to you, no, I wouldn't be comfortable, and you need to know that right now. And you need to be able to say, well, what do I need to do in order for you to feel comfortable introducing me to the people that you care about? You need to know that right now, because you're working with somebody who is not about to lead you to your next client. And you could repair it now. And you want to repair it during the transaction, not at the end of the transaction. So this is a great question to be asking throughout the entire transaction. It's almost like a survey question. Hey, John, just curious. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention they need help buying a new home, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Oh, yeah, sure I would, Joe. I would love to do that. Now, they didn't say they were going to refer you. They said they would be comfortable doing that. That's called planting a referral seed. You cannot harvest a referral unless you plant a referral seed first. So I'm curious, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention that they may need, now, I would suggest that whatever you put into that box right there be laser specific. Not whoever wants to buy a house, but whoever wants to buy a larger, more spacious home. Whoever wants to move up. The market right now is allowing people to move up, to sell their smaller home quickly and move up to a larger home. As prices are rising, they might want to take advantage of that right now. Or somebody who wants to buy their first home. With what's happening in the market right now, this might be a good time for them to buy their first home. Specifically, would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? And the person says, yes, they would. Now, I need you to embrace this as an idea that actually has the potential of getting you more referrals in the next 30 days than you did in the last 12 months. Just this one simple idea. If you just embrace it at that level. So if you knew that every time you spoke this, it began the process of somebody introducing someone to you, how many of you use it every day? Okay, so if it's that important, what you want to do is you want to get it into a memory. So the way you get into memory is you write it down. So I'm hopeful that you've already written it down. Would you check with the person next to you and just see if they've already written it down? Did you write it down already? Good. Got it word for word? There you go. Good. Now, watch what I'm going to do next. I'm going to teach you a technique called the magic words memorization method. Now, this is the same technique that the monks in Burma used to memorize long Sanskrit. What they do is they take the words and they write the first letter of each word. So, let's try it once. What's that? Everybody? Again? Good. Now, I want you to notice what the mind is doing right now is trying to connect all the synapses. So how many of you know your phone number? How many of you know your phone number? What's your phone number? 46854. Okay, so she didn't even have to think. She just said 468445644. All right? How many of you know your driver's license number? Yeah, you don't know because you don't have to repeat it very often. Some of you do, but most of you don't. And it's not relevant. It's not something that you have to access. So the synapse, the link, the connection, it's neurons that wire together, they fire together. And you want to be so comfortable with this that when you're with a client, you say, hey, you know what, you guys, I'm just curious. We've been working together now for 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm wondering, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend and a family member or a neighbor, somebody you really love and care about, and they mention that they would love to buy a new home and they need some help doing that, would you feel comfortable introducing me? You want to be able to speak that way because that's the purpose of your business, is to make people feel comfortable introducing people that they care about to you. And you got to keep checking with people to see if you're doing that for them. So this method of memorization is a simple way to help you get it into long-term memory. So it goes like this. Everybody? Good. Okay, say that again. Again. Okay, now tell me to feel comfortable. Tell me. It's called an embedded command. You'd say, would you feel comfortable? I'm embedding the command. I'm not asking it, I'm embedding it. I'm saying, would you feel comfortable? I'm telling them what to do. And the unconscious mind can can hear very differently than the conscious mind. Conscious mind can only take in 5, 6, 7 bits of information at a time. The unconscious takes it in at very deep levels. So when I say, would you, everybody? Everybody? Okay, again, from the top, everybody. All right, give the person next to you a high five and say, congratulations, you just got that installed. There you go. Good. Okay. Now, if you ever want to memorize something, write it down longhand, then write the first letter of each word and go over it 3 or 4 times and watch what happens. It starts to drop into long-term memory. Before you go to bed tonight, if you write this out, just the first letter, and you go to sleep with this in your unconscious mind, you'll wake up in the morning, you're going to say, I'm curious. The next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention that they would like to buy a larger, more spacious home, they might need help buying a larger, more spacious home. Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? And watch what happens. You're going to start this, That's the opening of all dialogue. I got to check for comfort. How many of you can hear the wisdom in this right now? All right, now let's combine this together. Now, a person says, yes, Joe, I would feel comfortable doing that. Then our dialogue would be, when you do, here's what you do. That's called an atomic tumbler. When you do, here's what you do. When you do, here's what you do. When you do, here's what you do. Would you all say that? When you do, here's what you do. Would you feel comfortable introducing them to me? Oh, sure I would. When you do, here's what you do. Oh, yeah, I'd introduce a friend or family member. If I know anyone, I'll let you know. When you do, here's what you do. Specific instructions. Number 1, take out your cell phone. Number 2, look up my number. And number 3, call me immediately, and we can talk about how you can introduce them to me. Now, if you read Jerry Spence's book, How to Argue and Win Every Time, one of the greatest trial attorneys of all time, he said whenever he got in front of a jury, all he had to do was give them very specific instructions. He would say to the jury, now you're going to stand up, you're going to go into the jury room, and you're going to find my client innocent. You're going to stand up, you're going to go into the jury room, and you're going to find my client innocent. He'd say that over and over and over again. Anybody remember O.J. Simpson? Remember that name? There was a guy that represented him. Anybody remember Johnny Cochran? Johnny Cochran was one of the greatest neurolinguistic communicators of all time. All he had to do was say, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit. He looked at each juror and said it 12 times. If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. 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 12 times. The jury stood up and they walked in. And what were they saying to themselves? Glove didn't fit. Because the mind is simple. It grabs hold of some, remember. And when you give specific instructions on what to do, people will remember it. I would encourage you, and I have thousands of people I coach today, that this is the PS in their email. They just simply say, next time you're in a conversation with a friend or family member and they need some help buying a larger, more spacious home, would you take out your cell phone, look up my number, and call me immediately? And we'll talk about how you can introduce them to me. That's an embedded command, giving people a very specific action step to take. And I would say that most of you are ambiguous with your requests, meaning you're wishy-washy with it. You're like, hey, if you happen to know of anybody, not that I'm pressing, but if you do, don't think I'm pushing. I don't need it, but if you got it, would you send it my way? And people are going, huh? Lack of clarity. Or you do it at the end, it's like an afterthought. Oh, one last thing. Could you refer someone to me? And the person goes, yeah, if I think of anyone, but then they leave. The time is right here at the beginning as you start this dialogue. So if we're going to take this dialogue, what would we do next? If you wanted to bring it into long-term memory, what would you do next? Try it. Go for it. When you do, write it. Again? Good. Number one? Number two? Good. Number three? Pretty good. Never mind the man behind the curtain there. So, with a show of hands, how many of you can hear the wisdom in what I'm sharing with you right here? Yeah, good. Give the person next to you a high five and say, good stuff. Good, good, good stuff. Yeah. All right. Now, what we're doing right now is we're taking language patterns, real simple language patterns, and we're putting it into a dialogue that we can use situationally. So you got this person that you're thinking of right now, and here's what's going to happen. You're going to call them up on the phone, and you're going to tell them the truth. You're going to say, you know, I was at the RE/MAX convention, and one of the trainers that was with us there shared with us that the person who's most likely to introduce us to someone that they really love is the person I'm currently working with. And I don't think I've actually talked to you a little bit about that, so I'm just curious. Would you feel comfortable introducing me to a friend, a family member, a neighbor who would like who needs help buying their next home? If they mention that, would you feel comfortable doing that? And watch what happens. You need to have that dialogue with people. People go, oh yeah, I'd be really comfortable doing that. You go, well, here's what you do and how you do it. Number one is you take your cell phone out, and then you look up my number and you call me immediately, and then we can talk about how you can introduce them to me. And then you hang up the telephone and you take a little handwritten note out and you say, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor who needs help buying a larger, more spacious home, just take out your cell phone, look up my number, and call me immediately, drop it in the mail, and watch what happens in the next couple of days. People want to feel good. And the likelihood of a person coming across somebody who's going to be buying, selling, and borrowing is in the during unit of the transaction. And I promise you, I've worked with agents today that get 60 to 70% of all of their clients introducing them to their next client during the transaction. They spend very little money searching for new business because the client they have is getting them their next client. I have built systems for agents where they have a whole series of videos that go out consistently to the client, and they'll ask 15 to 20 times during the process on video. They'll just have a quick video. The moment they get back to the office, it's already been filmed, and they send the same video to every client. And the video says, hey, just want to thank you one more time. Remember, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you'll gladly introduce me to a couple people even before you get your home sold. So have a great day. And the person sees that's the first communication they get after the initial consultation. And then there's 15 or 18 little ones like that throughout the entire conversation. So it's normal for a person to introduce you to your next client before it's over. As a matter of fact, the exponential growth in your business is in your during unit. If you did 25 transactions last year, the easiest way to add 12 more is get half the people to refer you your next client. If you did 50 transactions last year, the easiest way to do 25 more is get half those people to introduce you to your next client. Diane Cardano, 100 transactions. She went from 100 to 162 by just focusing all of her energy on the during unit. Put all the energy there, as opposed to running out spending money on advertising, marketing, promotion to attract people she doesn't even want to work with. Now, some of you say, what about the after unit? Yeah, that's a gold mine itself. But the big opportunity is in the during unit. And it starts the moment you sit down with that client at the initial consultation. And what I'm about to give you right now, if you take these words, these exact words, and you speak these words to your client, in the first 3 minutes, you will set in motion like a domino, an effect in your business that will change it forever. It's a very simple statement. I'll let you write this down. My purpose, I don't have this written down for you, so I want you to write this down. My purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you would gladly introduce me to at least 2 people that you really care about before I close your transaction. My purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you, you gladly introduce me to at least 2 people you care about before your transaction is even closed. So what I want you to get is that when you're with a client and you're sitting there at the initial consultation saying, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, before we even get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about myself and my business. First, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you would gladly introduce me to at least 2 people that you really care about before we even close your transaction. And what you want a person to do is respond to that, because if they respond to it, they're talking through the transaction. When they say, well, we don't know anyone right now, what they just said is they're listing with you at the unconscious level. They said, yeah, if we know anybody, we'll let you know. They just said they're going to buy a house through you. You talk through the transaction. See, some of you are trying to go in and get the listing. I'm saying talk to what they really want to do. They want to have an experience that they want to tell people about. When I go to Disneyland, I want to walk away and go, hey, you guys got to come back and see this. I want to have an experience that people want to tell other people about. So speak to that. So imagine this. You're sitting across from the client, and you say with enthusiasm and passion, you say, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, I love my business. I love RE/MAX. I love everything that I stand for. And my purpose, my primary purpose in business is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you gladly introduce me to at least 2 people that you really care about even before I get your transaction closed. And watch people go, wow, that's pretty big purpose. But that's what you want people to do before the transaction is over, introduce you to your next client. So what I'd like you to do is, let's go for this, try it out. So my what? Everybody? Again? What kind of happy? Come on, say outrageously like outrageously. Yeah, you wouldn't go, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy. You know, my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy. There's a frequency that you bring up. People want you to hold a higher energy than they're currently holding. They want you to raise the frequency of the conversation, of the relationship. So when you're with a person, say, what's your first name? Natalie is sitting in the front row. So if I sat down at Natalie's house and say, hey, Natalie, I know that you could pick from thousands of real estate agents in the Toronto area, and I'm delighted that your friend Mary Beth recommended and introduced me to you. However, it's really important that you understand that my purpose is for you to be so outrageously happy with the help that I provide you that you gladly introduce me to at least 2 people that you really care about, even before I get your transaction closed. That's my purpose. And watch Natalie go, huh. It's a different place to come from, as opposed to my purpose is to get the listing so I can get out of here. Or sell you a house so I can get a commission. Speak to a higher purpose. So let's try it again. My purpose is for you to, with help, you what? Everybody, what's that word? Everybody? Me, to at least 2 people you before transaction is over or closed, before your transaction is over or closed, whatever you feel comfortable with. So I want your client to get the notion that before the transaction is over, they're already going to be telling their friends and family members, their neighbors, and the people they love about you. And how many of you like that thought? Yeah, that's what you want to have happen. You want your business to grow itself organically from the people that you currently have. The most expensive client you'll ever get is the one that you take your commission check and you go run an ad to find the next one. That's the most expensive client there is. The best client there is the one you're currently working with, introduces your next one. And that one introduces your next one. That one introduces your next one. And you've got this whole chain of people who are coming from your current client base. And it's possible, if you raise your awareness to this, to wake up to this. And that's the possibilities. And I'm excited for you. How many of you are excited for yourself right now? You're going, this is pretty cool stuff. Yeah. Yeah, this is good stuff. This makes sense. You know, and I love the after unit of your business. We can speak to that. But right now, I just want you to think of your current client that you're working with right now, the one that likes you, knows you, and trusts you. What can you do to help that person introduce you to your next client? So, I'll give you a quick assignment here, and then I'll give you a couple other thoughts. I want you to turn to the person next to you, and I want you to give the whole dialogue to the person sitting next to you as if you're calling up that person. Call them up, role play it once, just work with me on this. Person with the longest hair goes first, and then you can reverse roles. Real quick, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Do that now. Just have a chance to work it out one time. Go. I'm going to go to the slides now. Okay, good. Come on back. Good. Excellent. Now, whenever you learn something new, like you are right now, your awareness is at an all-time high. Your awareness is high, and your willpower is high. When you learn something, you go, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Willpower is high because awareness is high. As awareness diminishes, what also diminishes? Willpower. How many of you have ever heard something that you got really excited about, but 2 days later you did not execute on it? Willpower was diminished. That's why it's essential that when awareness is high and willpower is high, you instantly put in accountability at that moment. When you're excited, I have a friend of mine that was smoking cigarettes, and their father-in-law passed away from cancer and went down to the hospital and sat, through that grieving period. And at that moment, the awareness was super high to lung cancer. Willpower was super high. That was the moment to quit. Are you following me on this? That was the moment to call smoke enders or get onto some program where they had structure in place to support the current willpower. Because when you walk out of the hospital and you go back to your environment's always stronger than willpower. You go back into the environment, and there's the ashtray, and there's the cigarettes, and there's all the stuff that supports the old habit. Environment is stronger than willpower. What happens is you fall back into the old habit patterns. So right now, you have a moment right now. There's this magic moment that's occurring right now that you want to call this person up that you're thinking of, and you want to just give this dialogue a try. Now, where are you going to install the accountability? That's why it's so essential that you hang around like-minded people like you are today. And you just say to your partner, listen, I'm going to call this person by this date at this time, and I'm going to call you back, and I'm going to let you know what happens. And you install a little bit of accountability, just something right now. And that's how you get things done. You make a promise, not set a goal. You make a promise. Goals are easily set and easily not met, but promises, you make a promise. You don't say, my goal is to be there at 3 o'clock. You say, my promise is I'll be there at 3 o'clock. You say, my promise is by Tuesday at 10 o'clock, I will call that client. Make a promise. Put yourself out there. And then hold yourself accountable to somebody. Say to your partner, actually, hey, listen, you can check in with me tomorrow, Tuesday, what's tomorrow? Wednesday. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, I'll have called somebody by 10 o'clock, this person by 10 o'clock tomorrow, and I'll use this dialogue. And install some accountability around it. Watch what happens. Now, I find is that people get great learning, but then they don't execute on it. And then you go to the next seminar, the next speaker, the next class, and you got this bag full of stuff, but nothing's been executed. So how many can hear the wisdom in that? Yeah. Good. So why don't you just real quick, turn to the person next to you, give you 10 seconds, set some accountability up. Set something up right now that you're going to make a commitment to making this come true. Real quick, quick. Good. Good. Now, very good. Now let me just show you a few things. Watch. So, how many of you have been asked the question, how's the market? How many have been asked that question, how's the market? So, how is the market? How's the market right now? Okay, now usually what I hear when I ask that question is a pancreatic platitude. Pancreatic platitude is a word that blows things up. Unbelievable. It's fantastic. It's outrageous. It's amazing. Now, if you were in San Diego, you'd hear different words. I live in a little town called Cardiff by the Sea, which is right between Del Mar and Encinitas. And I'm in Starbucks down at my area there, and I'm standing in line, and there's a young lady standing in front of me, and I love casual conversation. And I say, hey, what do you do for a living? And she turns to me, she goes, oh, I'm a real estate agent. And I thought, oh, this is your lucky day. So I said, how's the market? And she goes, oh, it's picking up. It's picking up. And I started to think about what she just said to me. I asked her, how's the market? And she said, it's picking up. I thought, how much training did you have to have in order to have that response? I mean, how much training and how much practice does a bad musician have to have? You know, I really thought about that. I wondered, was she in a class thing when someone says, how's the market? I'm going to say, it's picking up. Is that what you wanted to have happen? Because you know in the next 24 hours, somebody's going to ask you, how's the market? And what a pro does is, they're prepared. Amateur wings it. So let me suggest that you find language that supports your purpose, which is people to introduce you to the people that they love. That's your purpose in business. You want to create experience so people introduce you to the people that they care about. So every time you open up your mouth, the question you're asking is, am I moving any closer towards my purpose? Or am I moving away from it? Robert Greenleaf said something brilliantly. He said, only speak when what you're about to say will improve upon the silence. And when she said, it's picking up, I said to myself, you should have just shut up. Because she was talking about her market. I'm talking about my market. I'm saying, how's the market? But really what I'm saying is, how's my market? I'm only concerned about one thing, my house. What are homes selling for in my neighborhood? On my street, there's one that just went up for sale. Did it sell? The sign went up and it went down. What's going on? That's what I'm saying, but I don't know how to say that, so I say, hey, how's the market? And so from that context, knowing that a person's really saying, how's my market? Step into that. And so what I started doing about 20 years ago was archiving everything that I teach. And one of the things I found was if I put all my dialogues on playing cards, cards like this, these are playing cards, what I can do is I can do what my mom did. My mom was a school teacher, and she taught me that the easiest way to learn language was with flashcards. Yeah, and so she would have 9 brothers and sisters, and she homeschooled us, and so we learned, flashcards. When we wake up and I'm like, my mom's with her flashcards, there she is. And so, my dad was an entrepreneur, and my mom was a school teacher. My dad was always saying, own your own business. My mom was saying, be a school teacher. So here I am. So I want to show you an example of that. So the first one, I want to just look at this. This is the first slide here. This is called, how's the market? And the dialogue would go like this. Experience shows it all depends where you live. That's a beautiful way to begin that. How's the market? Well, experience shows it depends where you live. Now, the word experience shows is a language ambiguity, but really what it's saying is my experience, but without using you, because as soon as you say my, it's about you. So you say experience shows it all depends where you live. I'd love to do some research for you, send you an email that will tell you what homes are for sale now, what homes have sold recently, and how long homes are taking to sell in your neighborhood, so you can feel real secure in the knowledge that you have the most accurate information. And some of this timely information might tell you right away how your market is right now. I imagine that information would be of value to you, would not? Now, that's the context. So really when this person says, hey, how's the market? They would turn me, experience shows it really depends where you live. Where do you guys live? I live up on Cambridge. Well, here's what I do for my friends who live in that neighborhood is I put them in an email program and I let them know what homes are selling for, how long they're taking to sell, what the list price is to the sales price ratio. Would that information be of value to you? Because I imagine it would it not? Oh, yeah, I'd love that. Oh, well, just all I need is your email address and I can push you into my list. And wouldn't that be cool if half the time somebody asks you, how's the market? You picked up an email address. I mean, just how many of you think you're going to be in the business for another 10 years? So how many times is somebody going to ask in the next 10 years, how's the market? And if half the time, even 20% of the time, you picked up something from that, I mean, that would be speaking in the direction of your purpose. Say yes? Yeah. How many can hear the wisdom in that, what I just shared with you right there? So how's the market? Okay, stop. How many of you were instantly ready to go to great? Who would you say it's great to? Somebody you don't want to have a relationship with. Somebody says, how's the market? Oh, it's phenomenal. I am so busy, I have no time for you. Thank you. And Uncle Bob walks away, you know? Or take a thought like this. Look at this dialogue here. This one is, please don't keep me a secret. Oh, I'll go back here. Please don't keep me a secret. Those are magical words. Please don't keep me a secret. Would y'all say that? Come on, say it again. Again? So imagine you're at a party and you're walking out and somebody says, hey, thanks for coming, and you turn to them and says, hey, my pleasure. Hey, please don't keep me a secret. And watch that little embedded command. Don't is a very powerful word. It's called a reversing word. The mind automatically says, I'm not. How many of you remember your mother saying to you, don't? How many of you actually thought your name was don't? So when you hear, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, what's even your own kids? Don't hit your sister. I'm not. It's reverses. And secret is one of the 7 implosion words in the English language that when you hear the word secret, the mind goes, what are you talking about? So when I say, hey, please don't keep me a secret, the mind goes, oh, no, I don't. I tell everybody about you. I wouldn't do that. I don't keep you a secret. Hey, try this on your next phone call right before you hang up. The person says, okay, I'll talk to you later. And they go, oh, Bob, one last thing. What's that, Susie? Please don't keep me a secret. Well, what do you mean? I don't keep you. I tell everybody about you. Are you sure? Because I haven't been introduced to any of your friends or family members yet. Oh, no, I will. I'm not going to keep you a secret. Just little words like that start to open up in the direction of your primary purpose. So please don't keep me a secret. Please don't keep me a secret. Say it one more time. Here, try this. How to discover if people will refer. I love this thought. You could call up a client who has not referred anyone to you, and you could say to them, hey, Ms. Johnson, Joe Stumpf, the founder of By Referral, only said that when it comes to referrals, the population is divided into 3 groups. He said 15% of the people will refer me without even asking. Another 15% won't refer me because they don't promote under any circumstances. And 70% of the people will refer me if I ask them in an intelligent way. John, I was wondering, what group do you fall into? It's a wonderful way to open up the dialogue. Are people even going to introduce you? It's only telling them the truth. I mean, imagine you're sitting around a dinner table with a group of people that you know and care about. And you say, hey, Nancy, you know I'm in real estate. Yeah. Did you know that 15% of the whole population, they never endorse or recommend anything? And 15% of the people are always advocating for everything and telling everybody about anything. But 70% of the people, they'll refer if they're asked in an intelligent way. I'm just curious, which group do you think you fall into? You watch, oh, I'm 70%. If somebody asks me in an intelligent way, I do it. Well, let me just talk to you a little bit about my business. And I'm curious, the next time you're in a conversation with a friend, a family member, or a neighbor, and they mention they want to buy a larger, more spacious home, and they need some help doing that, would you feel comfortable introducing me? Oh, yes, I would. Well, here's what you do when you do. You take out your cell phone, you look up my number, and you call me immediately. And then we can talk about how you can introduce them to me. Oh, I would love to. Give me your card. And the possibilities now start to exist. Where in the past, there was no dialogue because there may have been a lack of language. How many are starting to get it right now? Yeah. Now, what you're watching is somebody who has mastered this. And as you look at this, you're going, oh my gosh, this guy's really got some great skills. But the truth is, it's not 5,000 different moves that you practice 5 times. It's 5 moves that you practice 5,000 times. And that's the difference between a real pro and an amateur. And I would say that 2010 is the year you go pro. You know, how many of you are in favor of going pro in 2010? Yeah. Stop winging it. You know, amateurs pretend they know, pros know. And here's a big opportunity for you to take your language. It's the one thing, it's the soft skill that people can't compete with. Everybody can match your website, everyone can match your advertising campaign, but they can't compete with your commitment to your language. So I just know that there are so many different ways to approach this. I mean, how many times are you asked, how's business? How's business? How's business? Oh, phenomenal. Try this. Well, things are going well. And isn't it nice to know that I have time for you and your family and your friends and anyone else you know who could use my help right now? Just conversationally, hey, Joe, how's business? You know, Bob, it's really going well. But isn't it nice to know that I do have time for you, your friends, your family members, your neighbors, or anyone that you really care about who wants or needs my help? That's very different than great or awesome or spectacular. I just want you, every time there's an opportunity to speak to your purpose in an intelligent, articulate way. And so I could go through all these things. One of the suggestions I have, I just got a couple minutes here. Well, one of the suggestions I have for you is that the best phone call you'll ever make to a past client is to give gratitude for what has happened to your business because of a referral. I call it referral chaining. And so I would suggest that before you ever call up a past client that has referred someone to you in the past and ask for another, you want to update them on everything that's happening in their referral chain. One of the greatest calls you'll ever make is, hi, Susie, this is Joe. I just want to thank you. I'm working with a new client named Bob. They were referred to me by Nancy. Nancy, you don't know, but they were referred to me by Kevin. You don't know Kevin either, but they were referred to me by Ron. You know Ron. You referred to me 4 years ago. Because you referred Ron to me 4 years ago, I'm working with this young couple who's buying their first home. It would have never happened if you didn't refer Ron to me 4 years ago. And I would just want to thank you for 4 years ago. What you did is now producing a result for a young family who's buying their first home. That's the greatest call you'll ever make. Whatever you want, show gratitude for what you've already received, and you'll get more and more and more of that. Say yes? Yeah. So I could go on for days and days and days and days and days and days and share with you all different ways to approach this. What I'd like to show you is I have a little booth out there, and I put together our whole kit. I used to do a 3-day training called the Main Event. And how many of you have been to my 3-day training, the Main Event? Would you raise your hands real high? Yep. And we stopped doing them in 2009, and we reorganized our business. But we took our 3-day training, we put it on CD and DVD. It's 17 hours of CDs, 6 hours of DVDs. So I've had 75 minutes with you. How many of you got some good stuff in the last 75 minutes with me? There you go. So if you gave me permission to be in your life for 17 hours, just put me in your car and let me drive around with you for the next 17 hours. And then sit in front of your computer and watch what I can show you. I'll give you a workbook, a 300-page workbook, and I'll even give you a set of my cards, our whole set of our Magic Words cards, 52 different dialogues, and for $99. For $99. We charge $795 to come to the 3-day program. We sell the cards for $39.95. The whole thing for $99. And we have a little booth that's set up over in the center over there, and you can run over there. I only brought 65 of them with me, so for this first 65 people, you go over there and you get it for $99. Now, if you don't have $99, that's why you want to do this. So, let me just finish with this one thought here. Let me wrap this up. I have a good friend of mine. His name is David White, and he's a poet. And I just got back from Italy with him. I spent 2 weeks with him in Tuscany, learning how to harvest the unknown and harvest our future. And he has a poem that he shares, and I want to share this with you, and I think you'll find great relevance in this. It goes like this. This is David White. He says, it's called Sweet Darkness. Listen carefully. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. When your vision is gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark, where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your womb tonight. The night will give you horizons further than you can see. And there you must learn one thing. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. And sometimes it takes the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn, listen carefully, sometimes it takes the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. Sometimes it takes the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. So thank you very much. Have a great day. Good. Thank you. Good.